Introducing to you first, the challenger on my right, fighting out of the red corner, wearing white trunks with red and green trim, representing the outstanding fighting family tradition, and known as boxing's pride from Oxnard, California. He weighed in at 145 and 1/2 pounds. His record, 39 wins, no losses, 30 big wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, stepping up in weight, risking his undefeated record and seeking his 5th weight division title. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former featherweight world champion, the former super featherweight world champion, the former super lightweight world champion, and the current lightweight champion of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the undefeated and distinguished 4-division champion of the world, introducing Mikey Garcia. And his opponent across the ring, the defending world champion, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing white trunks with red and green trim, fighting out of and proudly representing his home of Dallas, Texas. He weighed in at a ready 146 and 1/4 pounds. Truly one of the stars of boxing today, and pound for pound greats. He is undefeated in his campaign in the ring with a record of 24 wins, no losses, 21 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, he also is risking his untarnished record and is making the 3rd defense of his title. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the hard-hitting, reigning and defending, undefeated IBF welterweight champion of the world, introducing the Truth, Errol Spence Jr. And now introducing a 3rd man to the ring, the referee in charge of this bout, John Shorley.
Mr. Spence, Mr. Garcia, this fight is for the IBF world title. Give me a good, clean fight. Obey my commands and protect yourselves at all times. Touch gloves, good luck.
Both undefeated. Garcia 39-0, 30 knockouts. Spence 24-0, 21 via knockout. Errol Spence Jr. fights out of Dallas, lives in DeSoto, Texas, only 23 miles from AT&T Stadium. Who has held a title at some point in his career? Errol Spence Jr., the reigning IBF welterweight champion. In your mind, Joe, who had the edge in round 1?
Well, you'd have to give it to Spence only because he was touching. At least he was touching. Nothing solid landed from either guy, but he was touching. He's doing stuff like that. Mikey was pretty much trying to figure out Errol Spence right in the last round. So I'd have to give it to Errol. But, you know, this round, Robert wants Mikey to close the gap a little bit.
See, with Spence's experience, he's going to be throwing punches going backwards, and he knows how to throw punches going backwards.
So there was a nice little move by by Mikey Garcia. He stepped over to his right, Errol Spence's left there, just like that. He's making that little slip there, looking to counter, and he's done that twice now. I think he's finding a little spot for that move, and there he goes down the middle with that right hand.
Scorecard, Joe.
I would take a little issue with just the second round there. I thought that Garcia forced the action. He put on pressure. He landed a couple of body shots. He came over the top of Errol Spence's right jab with a little hook jab himself. I thought he looked more impressive in the second round. I think his head movement and his intelligence right now is serving him well. Again, nobody's there. Errol got a nice little body shot in, but nobody's really dominating the rounds yet. Looks like Errol wants to start pressuring though harder, but right when he does, Mikey makes these slick moves and he throws him off track for a minute, and Errol goes back to boxing for a second. So it's a real tug of war.
Ball left from Spence, connecting.
Well, actually, Mikey had that hand right up there, and he blocked that punch. Now, let me just tell you something. It's a great punch by Errol Spence, but Mikey was smart enough. He's going to keep his hands up when he sees those punches coming in. He's not going to get hit with a sucker punch like that, a looping left hand. You see Mikey's knocking those little jabs down to the body and trying to counter. So it's a cat and mouse game. He landed a nice little short right hand. Two of them like that. So once one of them gets in close, the other one steps back.
Time winding down in round 3.
Hand there, but
No, he caught him. He caught him
not
good.
completely.
Not completely, but he caught him.
No, he did. I'm not saying that.
And he's throwing some good right jabs.
No, it was 4 in a row, like you said. No, you're right.
All right, to Heidi Andro. Heidi.
Thank you very much, Derek. I know this has been a lot of them just feeling one another out. What did you say to Errol coming into this round?
I just told him to stay composed, keep his jab, stay focused, and don't get reckless. Stay composed.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Heidi. That's Derek James, Errol Spence's trainer. Derek, also a Dallas native, 2007 Trainer of the Year. As the action picks up here in round 4.
Yeah, Errol Spence landed a couple of good left hands. He was trying for that looper around the ear on Mikey Garcia, but Mikey got hip to it. He's keeping that right hand up much better after getting clipped last round with it. But
so you just see right there, popping him with the jab, and it's scoring for me, and I'm sure it's probably scoring for the judges seeing this from ringside as well.
All right, thanks, Marcos.
Keeping the fight in the middle of the ring, which is supposed to.
A look at the number of jabs landed. 21 for Spence, 11 by Garcia.
Yeah, the telling blows right now are by Spence with this left hand.
Absolutely.
He's definitely getting through with it, and he's scoring big.
the long arms are posing a problem for Mikey. He's really having a hard time counter-punching right now, and this is a problem. If he can't...
His head really stiff right now. He needs to move it a little bit more.
Body shot by Spence.
Great round for Spence right now. He's been throwing that right-left continuously.
All right, well, you heard Robert Garcia in the corner. You know, Mikey's having a hard time counter-punching from the distance. He's going to have to get inside. He said, close the gap, get inside. Now we got to go for it. He knows he's got to make, but you throw Errol Spence off balance, you got to make that second effort to jump right on top of him, because you're not going to get too many chances to get close to him.
I know, it's difficult. It's difficult right now because, you know, you're talking about a skillful boxer, Errol Spence. And he's mixing up the punches big time. And then all of a sudden when Mikey tries to jump back in there, he's getting punched as well.
Career.
Errol's got him so busy with that right jab, he's not seeing that left hand come through. And like I said, he's mixing it up. He's not only throwing it around the corner, but he's throwing it straight up the middle. And Mikey's got his head up, his chin up, and stiff. He needs to move his head a little bit more.
He's keeping the perfect distance, Errol Spence. And now he's starting to land some really hard shots. And if Mikey can't land and hurt Errol, he's really in deep trouble.
Body shots 31-7 in favor of Spence.
And that's the thing, Mikey's a tremendous body puncher. He just can't get close enough either way, coming or going, to land a body shot. And this is the Errol Spence.
Oh, good right hook by Errol Spence.
But this is the champ, Mikey, coming back. He's not going to sit still for that.
No, and Errol Spence did the right thing, move out of the corner. He's a better boxer.
If he's not willing to take chances or unable to take chances, we're going to see more of the same here.
Our Marcos Villegas has scored it 60-54, giving each of the first 6 rounds to Errol Spence Jr. In round 6, Spence landed 13 jabs. That's more than double the welterweight average.
Well, it's serving him well. I mean, especially since you know that it's going to be hard for Mikey to counter his jab because he's got short arms. It's a great strategy to use a lot of jabs because it'll really keep Mikey at bay, which he's been doing all night. And even that great counter punch Mikey just threw there missed Errol because he's actually got a very good defense himself.
Let's check in with Heidi Antro. Heidi.
Thanks so much, guys. I just talked to Derek James, Errol Spence Jr.'s coach. He told me he wants him to keep his composure, shorten up those shots, don't rush. You can even hear Floyd Mayweather over here saying, don't rush, use your jab. He'll walk into it. He wants him to close up on the middle, though. Guys?
All right, thanks, Heidi.
Right hand, and he's ready for it.
Final minute, round 7.
And Derek James is right. Errol needs to shorten up on the punches because he doesn't want to leave himself out there to be counter-punched.
I'd agree with that entirely, but you know, right now, even though he's not shortening up on his punches, he still hasn't paid the price for it. But it's always good to be cautious. But I will tell you, Mikey Garcia's got to use his feet. He's not using his feet to come forward. He's trying to counterpunch, but he's got to do that. He's got to put a hustle on with his feet if he really wants to be successful.
Round 7, winding down here in Arlington.
See?
Past 6 rounds in his career in his 25th pro bout.
But on those replays, it certainly looked like Errol Spence was landing the heavier shots, without a doubt.
Yeah, he was connecting.
Well, this is 8 of 12, and if Mikey Garcia is going to make any headway, he's got to make his move yesterday. I mean, so he's got to really do something spectacular in the next few rounds. He's got to hurt Errol Spence at least.
Well, I don't think he's going to hurt Errol Spence because, you know, when you look at both of their knockout ratios, Errol Spence has the highest knockout ratio.
21 of 24 for Spence.
Ooh, southpaw. You know, that works really well against right-handers, but against southpaws, it's really hard, especially when you've got a jab taking up all the time on your left hook side. You know what I mean? Boy, but Errol Spence is just dominating now. And even when he's close to Mikey can't find the counter shots. A couple good right hands, little choppers that Mikey's landing on the inside, but to what effect? Because here comes Errol, man, just throwing some really strong punches. Little uppercut, straight left hand, and a right hook right behind it.
Ooh, left by Spence.
That will time Mikey had a good flurry there. I doubt it, but I think you're right on that one.
Through 8 rounds, Garcia landing only 26% of his.
What's he going to do to turn this fight around?
Well, he's got to, like you said, he's got to take chances. I haven't seen him take one chance. You know, he's basically got to, he's going to have to rush him.
Okay, even when he takes chances, though, what's he going to do with it? I mean, score points? That's not going to win him this fight. It's too far gone already, you know?
Right, but he needs to throw some punches.
At the beginning of this round, guys.
It seems like he's looking for that perfect punch. That perfect punch is never going to be there. He's got to throw punches to get that perfect punch.
At the beginning of this round, our Felix De Jesus heard from Mikey Garcia's corner, be careful.
It's hard to be careful in a fight.
There's his trainer, his older brother, Robert.
And Errol stepped it up a little bit in this round.
Yeah, I think Errol would like to, you know, do what he does best, and that's really pressure you and eventually take you out. It may not be that easy to take Mikey out. You know, we're already in the 9th round, and he's not landing. Well, he's landing there right now. Very solid stuff.
Oh, left uppercut by Spence.
Mikey's taking these punches on the chin.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of these punches he's going to be able to take. This is what happens when you step up. You know, these guys punch a lot heavier. And this is Spence's weight class, and Spence is saying no guys from a lower weight class is going to come up and beat me in my weight class. I'm the king of this weight class. He's saying
Spence does that to welterweights as well. I mean, whether you step up or not, the bottom line is that he's got Mikey on the run and on the verge of a knockout right here, and he looks like he's looking for a knockout against Garcia.
See, Mikey threw that left.
Boy, he's really got Mikey on the run right now. And if I don't know if he could take another round like this next round if Errol Spence turns on the heat like he did this round.
Final seconds of round 9.
Nations by Errol Spence Jr.
We heard from Manny Pacquiao earlier when he chatted with our Kate Abdo. Manny said he'd love to face the winner of this bout. Errol Spence telling us yesterday, I want Pacquiao next.
I mean,
This round, he said, all right, I'll give it to you.
Errol Spence in round 9 landing 51 punches, most by a Garcia opponent in 20 fights.
Good right hand by Spence.
well, Robert saw what we were talking about last round, which was he could not afford to take another round like he did in the 9th round and the 10th round here. And I'm talking about Mikey Garcia taking that type of punishment. And Robert will stop the fight if he thinks his brother has taken too many punches. And even if it wasn't his brother, it would be a smart move because, you know, you got to watch out for your fighter regardless if it's your family or not.
And remember, as we mentioned earlier, Mikey was told by many, including some in his camp, that this fight was too risky.
Every fight is risky, but this one is especially risky because you're in there with a machine in Errol Spence who really devastates most of his opponents, whether it's to the body or head, but eventually he wears you down and just thoroughly, you know, thrashes you. And he's sticking to the script right here.
Spence putting on a clinic.
He is. And against a guy that is really not easy to put a clinic on against, whether you're bigger than him or not.
Final minute, round 10.
That's the thing is Mikey Garcia is too busy protecting himself to worry about throwing punches right now because he's just worrying about blocking punches, to tell you the truth, at this point of the game.
At this point, it's only going to take one punch.
Well, I got to tell you, Mikey threw a nice crisp left hook off of a counter shot off of Errol's punch, but then Errol came right back with a straight left hand. So even when Mikey does something good, Errol answers it back.
We'll look at the total power punches. Spence landing 55%, Garcia 24%. Final seconds of round 10. This is round 11. Spence threw a fight-high 125 punches in round 10.
I think right at this point what Robert Garcia is saying is, look, as long as I don't think you're going to take a lot of punishment, I'd like to at least get the moral victory of going the distance. And I think Mikey feels the same way. He'd like to go the distance and finish this fight without it being stopped. But he's not doing himself any favor by sitting on the ropes right there, because that's where he will take punishment.
Mikey Garcia needs to knock out Errol Spence to win this fight.
Of course.
But right now he's too busy protecting himself from this onslaught of Errol Spence's combinations.
He is. He's doing a good job of blocking these big punches, though, but something's going to slip in eventually if Mikey doesn't counter.
Spence throwing a barrage of punches here in round 11.
It's not looking good. So he's looking for a counter shot. It was too little too late.
Spence has landed over 300 punches. Garcia only 63. DeMarcos Vien this season. Errol Spence says, I bleed blue.
Put the body on the shot. Hands up high. Go get him right now. Hands up high. Rotate, rotate, rotate. Rotate. Huh?
Hey, fellas.
What?
And here we see another Spence flurry, just stepping towards Mikey, mixing up the punches, throwing punches in bunches.
Mikey Garcia acknowledging the crowd as we begin the 12th and final round. Errol Spence Jr. fighting past 11 for the first time in his pro career. He's never gone to round 12.
No, and Derek James doesn't, his trainer doesn't want him to. He said, you got to go get him, go get him, go get him. Now he knows he's got Garcia to go to 12. It's kind of a little bit of a letdown not to be able to stop a guy that's a 135-pounder as well on the other side of the coin, right?
This is, Mikey's a good fighter.
He's a great fighter.
He's a great.
That's why he's still here.
He knows how to protect himself. Usually, other guys would probably get stopped by now, but Mikey's doing a good job of protecting himself.
Let me tell you, he's proven himself to have a lot of courage, a lot of strength mentally and physically, and he took the challenge. He's coming up short on the challenge, but man.
Welterweight title holder. It has been Spence in control right from the start.
Mikey slipped a couple of big punches, and he popped out a couple of short right hands, but that's as much as he's getting accomplished right now. He's got 1 minute left to survive this 12th round and get the moral victory of lasting 12 rounds with Errol Spence. Not many guys can or have.
That's true.
Spence and Garcia have great respect for one another, spent a lot of time together. They were out in Los Angeles on a couple of occasions for press conferences. And then earlier this week, here in Arlington, Mikey Garcia said, Errol reminds me of me.
Well, Spence just keeps coming, especially in this last round. He's trying to go for broke right here and close the show.
Well, he's got 25 seconds to 20.
Two undefeated champions go the distance. He had what he called a wall of inspiration in his bedroom. Posters, magazine covers of Ali, Leonard, Mayweather, Roy Jones, Thomas Hearn, with Jerry Jones in the ring. Huge contingent of Mikey Garcia fans on hand here in Arlington. Time for the decision. To the ring, Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action here at AT&T Stadium, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Glenn Feldman, scores the bout 120 to 107. Judges Alex Levine and Nelson Vasquez both scored the bout 120 to 108. All three in favor of the winner, remaining undefeated, proving he is one of the elite champions of the sport today, and still the IBF welterweight champion of the world, boxing's pride of Dallas, Texas, the truth, Errol Spence Jr.
Errol Spence Jr. maintains his title, shaking hands with Manny Pacquiao. He told us yesterday, I want Pacquiao next. Errol is with Heidi.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Errol, when you walk out in front of these 47,000 fans, that pyro, that band, I know you want to talk Manny Pacquiao, so I'm just going to let you do it right now.
Yeah, tell Manny Pacquiao come back over here. Manny! Come on over here, Manny.
Manny, you're being requested here, center of the ring.
He been here before, he done broke records here before, he's a legend of the sport, and it'd be my honor to fight him next.
Is that the fight you want next, Manny?
Yeah, why not? I mean, we'll give the fans a good fight.
Would you want to do it right here in AT&T Stadium. I saw Mr. Jones. I don't know where he went. I'm sure he would have no qualms about doing that.
Well, I'm so happy to be here in Dallas, and then I'm hoping that I will be back here soon.
All right, well, I know a man who hopes that too, Errol. This fight, you told me this week, or I'm sorry, rather today, you told me that you felt better today than you have felt all week. What was different for you?
Just the motivation.